Welcome back to some more Umineko when they cry. So, where we last left off, you know, blood in the dining hall. They decided to have breakfast in the parlor instead in the parlor. Then, oh my goodness, and sad, reminiscing, and then there's Battler having a conversation with Eva. This became this whole spinning the chessboard around part 2. So there's that. Yeah, let's get to the reading. I've been playing detective with Aunt Eva, trying to expose the person who had killed Dad and the rest before the police did. Oh, by the way, Maria's personality was way different compared to the rest that were mourning. Like, Maria doesn't give a fuck. Like, she does. I don't know how, but I don't know. Maybe there's something. Maybe this whole consists of her and her thing for witchcraft has been me like, yeah, I don't give a shit about Rosa. So okay, let me repeat this again. I've been playing detective with Aunt Eva, trying to expose the person who had killed Dad and the rest before the police did. If only I could cleverly penetrate the culprit's identity and stick the proof in their face. I'd been so sure that, just like in one of those detective movies, the culprit would then give up and surrender. However, the culprit would only surrender if there was no way for them to fight back. Actually, that's true. The culprits behind the crime on this island were far from helpless, and might even be able to massacre all of the remaining people here. And on top of that, this island was like a giant closed room, cut off from the outside world by the typhoon. So they had a full day until tomorrow to kill, scheme, and camouflage themselves. In short, it wasn't a safe atmosphere where we could get very far by playing detective. To the contrary, we were at a stage where we had to be scared stiff, since playing detective might displease the culprits and cause them to commit another mass murder.
あくまでも可能性の問題よ。でも私は使用人の人たちをまだ信用できないわね。それに私は使用人だけを疑ってるわけじゃないわ。さらに黒幕がいるかもしれないと思ってるわよ。
I thought Kinzo would be the mastermind, but who knows? I'm just making wild guesses here.
黒幕？どうしてですか？
勘よ。使用人は書いて字のごとし。誰かに使用されて手足となる存在よ。殺されたのは後宮家の親族ばかり。ならその結果で利害が発生する人間が関わるのは当然。
This was also plain and clear. The Ushiromiya family had been right in the middle of discussions about how to distribute the inheritance when grandfather died. And if this case followed the standard form of any classic mystery novel, the crime was definitely caused by someone with ties to the Ushiromiya family and who was involved in the inheritance problem. Aunt Eva had probably read a few books in that genre herself. Her argument may have had a few blind assumptions in it, but it was a standard conclusion that anyone might have reached. I think most people would end up suspecting the servants even if they used different reasoning to get there. Especially the story about the key to the shutter. That made it very easy to suspect. to suspect the one. Oh my goodness. That made it very easy to suspect that one of the servants was involved.
だから、なぜか気に入らねえんすよね。
気に入らないって？何の話？
Yeah, what do you mean?
あ、いえいえ、こっちの話っす。
Yeah, sure, buddy. I tried to dodge her question by joking, but I couldn't erase the sense of unease welling up inside me. After all, her conclusion was such an easy one to reach. A conclusion that anyone could reach. And I just couldn't be satisfied with that. If I tried spinning the chessboard around, like I learned from Kairi-san, this was exactly why a servant couldn't possibly be the I wonder if I should title Spinning the Chessboard Around Part 2. Because apparently, I don't know how the hell that video got, like, more, like, impressions than the first part. Like, I'm like, how in the fuck? Like, what the fuck did I just say at this point? I must have said something retarded, I don't know. This was exactly why a servant couldn't possibly be the culprit. If the servants really were the culprits, they wouldn't hide the bodies in a place connected to themselves. Why on earth would they use the Rose Garden shed if they were the ones in charge of the key that could unlock it? The police would probably immediately pursue whoever had been in control of the key. It was even possible that some other facts might come to light as a result. The more we think of the servants as the culprits, the less reason they had to carry the bodies into the storehouse. But what if they knew we'd think that and put the corpses in the storehouse for that very reason? No, that's completely impossible. When the police come and inspect the scene of the crime, they'll probably be able to uncover many things. No matter how carefully the culprits carried out that murder, some traces will definitely be found. In other words, they had everything to lose and nothing to gain. If you think about it this way and look at this murder game from the culprit's side, it's hard to imagine why they want to call attention to the corpses. Once the corpses were found, it could result in someone sending a report to the police, or it might make the remaining people more cautious, or it might make the survivors start to search for the culprit. None of these things would make life any easier for the culprit. Is just like the words of the main character's mother in the novel I read recently called Higurashi no Nakukoro. What? Why is this? This dialogue gotta be a troll. Why couldn't they just? What in the fuck? Why is it? Is it breaking the fourth wall here from here? Like, like, what is this? Every story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, but you're right. Eliminating that beginning is essential for the perfect crime. Right now, we don't know where grandfather is. We don't know if he's already become a victim or if he's one of the culprits. But this state of confusion must be beneficial to the killer. The culprit has absolutely nothing to gain by showing us the bodies in such an obvious way and making us all realize there's been a murder. In fact, this is the perfect place to spin the chessboard around. In other words, showing us the corpses in such a flashy way must be the culprit's goal in and of itself. So, at the very least, to the culprit, the appearance of 6 corpses there meant more than the deaths themselves. In other words, the culprit wanted this murder on display. To whom? To us. This is a message. The culprit's trying to shove something in our faces. I don't know what it is. At this point in time, this vulgar mass murder isn't making me feel anything except the malice directed towards all of us. Malice towards all of us, is it? I'm pretty sure, like I said, this culprit must have a fucking grudge towards the Ushiromiya family. Each one of the survivors has some kind of connection to one of the 6 victims. Uncle Krause's death brought Jessica the grief of losing a family member. The deaths of Dad and Kairi-san brought me sorrow, while Aunt Rosa's death brought Maria sorrow. Goda-san's death probably shocked his fellow servants, and Shannon-chan's death brought grief both to George Aniki, who had proposed to her, and Kanan-kun, who had loved her like an older sister. Everyone now on this island has received an equal amount of sadness. Aunt Eva was sure that the servants were in cahoots, but then how could you explain the deaths of Goda-san and Shannon-chan? At any rate, by this argument, the grief caused by the 6 deaths hit everyone but Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi. Then Aunt Eva, who had directed suspicion at the servants, had and acted as though she herself was beyond suspicion, could not be ruled out as a suspect. In the first place, she was able to argue that the servants were suspicious by focusing on the shutter's key. But if you look at it from a perspective of motive, who would gain, Aunt Eva's name rises to the top of the list. Hmm.
バトラ君が何を考えてるか、おばさんわかるわよ。
Spooky music.
What?
What?
嫌だな。内緒にしててくださいよ。あんなことやこんなことで頭をいっぱいにしてたなんて。
私がこの殺人で一番得をする。どうせ疑われるだろうから先に自己申告しておくわ。
So Eva has suspicions that one of the servants is the culprit, even though Goda and Shannon got murdered. So the servants remaining is Genji, Kanon, and Kumasawa. I tried to dodge the issue by joking around, but apparently it didn't work.
遺産は兄弟の数で分割する。でも今や4兄弟は私一人。後宮家の全財産はすべて私のものになるの。
God damn.
秀吉おじさんが聞いたら予算か言えばシャレにならんっていうところっすね。
I see Eva got a bit of an ego there.
ごめんね。どう取り繕ったってどうせ疑われるだろうからふざけただけよ。だからこの殺人は私の立場から見れば私を疑わせるためのものではないかと思ってるの。困ったことに昨べのアリバイは弱いわ。
聞かせてもらってもいいっすか。昨べのことを。
バトラ君たちも知っている通り、兄弟が遺産をどう食いちぎり合うかという話し合いは深夜まで続いたわ。でも何時まで続いたかは知らない。私と主人は朝が早かったからね。もう眠くて24時を過ぎたあたりで抜けさせてもらったの。そしてゲストハウスに戻って休んだわ。
それを秀吉おじさん以外の誰かに証明できるっすか？いやいや、別にエヴァおばさんを疑ってるわけじゃないっすよ。
あら、どうだか。証明になるかわからないけれど、ゲストハウスに戻ってきた時、源氏さんに出迎えを受けてタオルはいるかと聞かれたわ。だから私たちがゲストハウスに戻ってきた時間は24時過ぎだと証明してくれると思うわよ。もっとも私の仮説通り使用人たちもグルなのだとしたら、こんなのアリバイにならないけどね。
確かにそうっすね。ってことは、俺今真犯人と推理ごっこをしてるってことになるんすか？
でも私の名誉のために言わせてもらうけど、遺産目当てだったならこんな変な殺人はしないわよ。だって遺産相続権を喪失させるだけならどんな死に方だって構わない。むしろ事故死に見せかけた方がスマートでしょ。使用人たちを抱き込んで周到に計画していたならなおさらそうするでしょうよ。
確かにそうっすね。営利で人を殺すならそれは常に殺人に見せるべきではない。
そういうことよ。だからおばさんは今からとてもブルーな気持ちなわけ。
I'm pretty sure I've read enough Higurashi by now to know when it comes to murders and shit.
警察には黒幕扱いされて散々調べられるでしょうね。やだやだ。
Aunt Eva shrugged with a bitter smile. It was just as easy to suspect Aunt Eva as it was to suspect the servants. So if we spin the chessboard around, does that make it impossible for the culprit to be her, suspicious as she is? However, if that sort of argument always works, then motive can never help us in any way. No, that can't be right. Knowing the motive must give us powerful clues towards knowing the culprit. That's why murderers from all time periods disguise crimes in complicated ways, cleverly preventing their motives from being discovered. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Every time I spin the chessboard around, it keeps flipping from front to back and back to front. And my thoughts bringing me closer to the truth? Or are they... What? Or are they what? Aunt Eva didn't want to talk any more than that, so I folded my arms and headed to the window to cool my head a little. As I looked over the parlor, I saw George Aniki and the others gathered, talking. It looked like they were talking about the magic circle that had been painted onto the shutter. Oh, why would you just... Don't you think painting over the magic circle is going to disturb something and get worse later on? As Uncle Hideyoshi thought back to that time, he started drawing the shape in the margins of Maria's notebook. I see. Since Maria was second only to grandfather in knowledge of the occult, she might understand what it meant.
多分こんな感じだったと思うで。十字架をアレンジしたみたいなマークが書かれとったんや。そしてこんな感じで外周の円を取り囲むように妙な文字がびっしり書き込まれていて、十字架の上下左右の辺とその四隅にも何か書かれていたんや。
I wonder what the message would mean.
アルファベットとかそういうのとちゃうで。
Or better yet, if there was a message written, that is. I mean, it is a pentagram of the sword, so.
あれはよく言う古代文字とかいうやつや。
あと円周部の頂点に小さなマークがありましたな。小さな丸を5つ十字状に並べ、それぞれを直線で結んだようなマークでした。
ああ、確かにそんなのも書いてあったで。うん、図形的には間違いなくこれや。
Sure is.
細かい文字はわからんが、配列はほぼ同じや。
Everyone was staring down at the shape, so I stared down at it too. From what I'd heard, this had been painted on the shutter to the storehouse with some material that looked like blood. I see. This sure is unsettling.
こんなわけのわかんねえもんを書きたがるのはじいさまだけだろ。まったく、どこに行っちまったんだ。とっ捕まえて意味を聞き出してやりたいぜ。
That'd be funny if Jessica suspected Kinzo to be the culprit. So if Eva suspected that one of the servants did it, and then Eva thinks that she's going to be raised into suspicion of herself. I'm gonna grab her and ask what the hell this is supposed to mean. Jessica's voice contained impatience and anger. She hadn't gone so far as to say grandfather was the culprit. I was going to, God damn it, dialogue. But she seemed sure that grandfather knew something about the culprit's background. Of course, if you were searching for a link connecting the Ushiramiya family to the cult, 10 out of 10 people would think of grandfather. Also, to a person who knew nothing of the occult, this strange mark would have no meaning, which meant that this might have been something addressed to grandfather. That's right. And the reason the crime was shown to the survivors was so they'd find this. In that case, where had grandfather, the essential recipient of this message, whatever you call it, disappeared off to?
こんな図形に何か心当たりはあるかい？
She has a very serious look on her face. Maria looked at the shape with a serious face. Maybe she was enthusiastic. Maybe she was enthusiastic because this was her area of expertise. However, her appearance was that of someone separated from the events at hand, as though this thing hadn't been drawn on the shutter closed around her mother's corpse.
僕の第一印象ではどこか外国の十字章に似たデザインだなって思ったかな。
ああ、確かにこんなデザインや。ということはどこぞの国と何か関係があるんか？
Don't. Oh boy.
その国の十字章はもともと聖地巡礼者を守るための騎士修道士たちの紋章だったそうですな。
Oh.
つまりこの魔法陣には宗教的な意味があるってことかよ。ますますにちんぷんかんぷんだぜ。
When I looked over at all of them, preparing to jump into the discussion, something shocked me. Whoa, what in the what? Why are you up close to the screen? Oh my god. What the fuck? Like, oh god. Well, that's a little bit creepy. Maria was smiling, an eerie and incomprehensible expression on her face. It was almost as if she was making fun of everyone's ignorance. It was an expression I wouldn't have dreamed to find on Maria's face. And she laughed. Oh my god. Her face. Holy shit. And she laughed. That eerie, jarring laugh was something I didn't want to believe was possible. Even though I was looking at in right even though I was looking at it right in front of my eyes. What the fuck is going on?
全然違うよみんな。
Bruh. It's like the demon possessed her. Oh my god.
こんなの見てわかんないかな。
While everyone was busy being scared out of their wits, Maria kept on cackling happily by herself. After a while, that laugh was suddenly and abruptly cut off. But her expression still looked like it belonged to someone completely different from Maria. What the fuck? Did Beatrice like possess her or something? Oh my goodness.
これは太陽の7の魔法陣だよ。書かれてる文字はヘブライ語。
Fucking Maria, look on her face. She's like, man, you guys are fucking dumbasses.
貸して。
ああ。
Maria stole the writing materials from the stunned Hideyoshi's hand. She then started drawing another magic circle with a rustle right next to the one Hideyoshi had drawn.
で、
Damn. Now that's a face I never seen before from Maria.
こんな図形だったんじゃないかな。
Did something change from Maria within the character section? I'm having very... Oh. So this changed. Disappeared from his study unnoticed. Kinzo's study has everything from a bed to a toilet to a bathtub, so it is extremely rare for him to go outside. However, he does sometimes go out for a walk in the wind without telling anybody, which on several occasions has led to a huge uproar throughout the house. He usually comes back as soon as he gets hungry. Usually. Yeah, where the fuck did he go? Oh, man.
そんな図形だった。
マリア、すごいな。
Even Jessica's like, what the fuck?
さすが詳しいぜ。
Jessica tried to smooth things over by praising Maria. Maybe she wanted to confirm that this was still the Maria we all knew so well. But Maria didn't answer her in any way in particular. Maria began swiftly writing unfamiliar characters in the corners of each shape. I wonder what Maria's creepy face would look like in the old art of the Soren. I don't know about the Steam version of the art, but you know, is this Steam version art or is this manga gamer art? Who knows? My God, what the fuck? Maria began swiftly writing unfamiliar characters in the corners of the shape. When Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo saw them, their eyes immediately began to open wide.
天地と左右に書かれているのは風化水道を司る天使たちの名。カサン、アレル、タリアハド、そしてフォルラク。 そして斜め四方には4代の統治者たちの名。アリエル、セラフ、タルシス、ケルブ。合ってる？
Even if they hadn't been able to correctly write what they'd seen, when they were once again shown something identical, it wasn't difficult for them to realize the two were the same. When Maria asked them whether it matched, Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo nodded over and over again.
間違いない。そうや。確かにこんな文字が書かれとった。なんでこんなん書けるんや。
あと演習部にも文字が書かれておりましたな。
わかってるよ。こうでしょ。
Maria quickly began to surround a circumference with more Hebrew writing.
旧約聖書の詩編第116編の16節と17節だよ。聖書くらい読んでなきゃ。
Oh my. Acting as though knowing this was only common sense, Maria laughed. For a while, everyone, including me, was at a loss for words. A little later, George Aniki returned to his senses and slowly managed to speak.
すごいね。驚いたよ。それでこの魔法陣にはどんな意味があるんだい？
太陽の力を借りる魔法陣だよ。黄金で描き、護符にして身につけたる者はいかなる牢獄であろうとも、束縛から逃れ、自由を得られる力を授けられる。
束縛から逃れ自由を得られる。意味深だぜ。
この束縛という意味は何も肉体的なものだけを指さないと解釈されている。だから縛られて牢屋にいる人ばかりに意味があるわけじゃないよ。しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命など精神的な束縛からの解放も意味してるんだよ。
What a living hell.
しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命か。これまた意味深だな。
しかしさっぱりわからん。それとあの6人の遺体とどんな関係があるっちゅうんや。束縛からの解放どころか殺された上に倉庫に閉じ込められてたんやで。
別にその6人のために魔法陣が描かれてるわけじゃないね。魔法陣のために6人はそこにいるんでしょう。
Yeah, 6 of them were sacrificed.
お気の毒だよ。
どういう意味だい？魔法陣のために6人がいるってのは一体。
Maria lifted up her pointer finger and waggled it as if she were making fun of us.
それは演習部に書いてるよ。読めないかな？
Sorry, I can't read.
詩編第116編16節と17節。読んであげるよ。主は私の枷を解かれました。私はあなたに感謝の生贄を捧げ、主の皆を呼ぶでしょう。ね。
ねって何を言ってるのかさっぱりだぜ。
生贄だってのか。
That's... I just said... What in the flippin' hell? If what Maria had just read aloud was a vital part of the magic circle, then it was saying that sacrifices had to be offered in order for this magic circle to be effective. So, human sacrifices had been offered inside the storehouse where the magic circle had been drawn. A heartbeat later, everyone else seemed to reach the same conclusion. Some people were shocked, and others spat out that this was insane as they punched their knees. This was starting to get incredibly disturbing, and we couldn't accept it or understand it. I don't care what kind of magic circles or curses other people believe in. I won't pick a fight with them. But did they really kill Dad and the rest of the sacrifices for crap like that? I just couldn't stand that feeling. Compared to this, I preferred it when we were still disguised by that theory about the fight over the inheritance. As I started getting pissed off with the feeling between anger and sadness, I broke from the circle everyone was in and returned once again to the window. Something had gone insane since yesterday. There was that letter from the witch, Beatrice. Oh, Beatrice! That Maria had read aloud at last night's dinner. Ever since that point, it feels like like this whole mansion and this whole island have been getting more and more firmly locked inside some kind of bizarre world. That's right, when I think back on it, that letter was an invitation from the witch. The ruler of the nighttime island had invited us inhabitants of the day into another world. The phone and the radio had been interrupted and the island was shut off by the typhoon, so you really could call this place another world cut off from the real one by now. Yeah, as this island is now, it's perfectly normal for a witch to send those letters and for human sacrifices to be offered up for the sake of magic circles. So what will happen next? Will some weird people wearing goat masks start doing the Bond Festival dance or something with goat masks? It's hopeless, it's hopeless, I don't get it. The inside of my head's all screwed up and I don't even know what to think. Anger, sadness, the opposing emotions, all swelled up together. And they started to suck me in. Unable to resist, I could do nothing but cover my eyes with my hands and trust in my mind and body as I started getting sucked in. What a nightmare. As I started losing heart, I began to recall a memory from when I was small. It was from when I was very young. I had unfortunately seen a scary occult movie on TV, and for a while, I hadn't been able to go to the bathroom by myself. That old bastard gave an exaggerated laugh and said this.
なあ、バトラ。どうして悪魔だのオカルトだのってのをわざわざこうして映画にすると思う？ねえからだよ。そんな滑稽なもんは地球のどこにもねえのさ。ねえからわざわざ見たくて作るんだよ。だから俺はオカルト映画なんてちゃんちゃらおかしくて笑っちまうってんだ。
Rudolph, I'm pretty sure you're the same person who don't believe in Santa Claus. It's like, oh, all these movies are just fiction.
俺に言わせりゃ、悪魔やら妖怪やらより、今年度の収支報告や機嫌を悪くした女房の方が1億倍も怖えってもんだぜ。さらに言うぜ。俺に言わせりゃな。怖がるってのは、心と生活にゆとりのある連中の娯楽的感情なのさ。
Oh boy.
暇でしょうがないから。連中は変わった感情で心を遊ばせたくて、悪魔だの、オカルトだのって文化を作り出したんだよ。
No words. Seriously, why have I been acting so damn thick-headed? I was totally taken in. What is this track, dude? It's like it's a beat going on. Don't try to mess with me. This is the human world. I don't give a damn about witches, demons, magic circles, and sacrifices. The human who killed Dad and everyone else is still on this island. That's all there is to it, right? The next person who started speaking to my heart was Kairi-san.
チェスや将棋ってね、終盤の終盤、詰めの最後の段階に入れば入るほど最善手は限られてくるのよ。
Oh, no wonder.
だから自分が追い詰めている、あるいは追い詰められているというその時、両者の手は限りなく読みやすくなるのよ。つまり完全に追い詰められて打つ手なしって思ったその時こそ最も読みやすい瞬間なのよ。でも守勢に立った人間はどうしても考えが固くなって相手の手を読むことにまで考えが至らない。そういう時はね、チェス盤をひっくり返すの。
With all my strength, I slapped my face with both hands. Now my eyes were truly open. When you don't understand anything and you're completely cornered just like I am now, isn't that the perfect time to spin the chessboard around? While on the defensive, we can't even guess at the culprit's scheme. If we spin it around and look at it that way, just what might we see? First off, at the time the culprit committed the murders, they knew the island was being cut off by the typhoon. Therefore, they should have understood that even if they carried out the murders, they wouldn't be able to get away early the next morning. In short, the culprit had begun without securing a way to escape. Furthermore, that bastard tossed the corpses in the storehouse, then was even kind enough to say, "Here they are," with that weird bit of graffiti. In other words, since we'd probably find the corpses sooner or later, they wanted to show them to us. If we'd all been dim and hadn't noticed the storage shed, the culprit's goal would not have been achieved, would it? If you think about it this way, that bastard of a culprit, since this morning, they must have been watching our every move with bated breath. Proper surveillance. After all, if we hadn't been so kind as to discover what was on the storehouse, all of that hard work and preparation they did last night would have just gone poof. And what did the culprit want to make us feel by showing us the corpses in the storehouse? All 6 of the bodies had their faces noticeably destroyed. Was it a grudge? A warning? The defacement of the bodies had occurred after death, so it hadn't been the means by which the culprit had killed. It didn't mean anything to those who had been killed. Alright, since I did get interrupted by a tad bit, I'll just repeat this part where I left off again. The defacement of the bodies had occurred after death, so it hadn't been the means by which the culprit had killed. It didn't mean anything to those who had been killed. It did have meaning to those who found the bodies. The culprit wanted to make it appear that they had been killed so brutally. Huh. After thinking this way, I really want to tell that bastard to stop taking me so lightly. Who'd just dance to that tune? If you're told, "Please be scared," you can't just say, "Really? Sure thing." When someone tells the great Ushiro battler, "The entrance is right here," I'm the kind of guy who will start wanting to sneak in through the window. Good old pro-tag moment. The next thing that had me concerned was that so-called magic circle on the shutter. As Maria, who had shown that her knowledge of the occult rival grandfathers, had recognized, that magic circle was genuine. They must have drawn that thing in pitch-black darkness, taking a lot of time and holding an umbrella in one hand. Isn't that amount of hard work and professionalism impressive? What purpose would have been worth all of that effort? If we were looking for a fan of the occult in this mansion, most likely all of us would naturally suspect Grandfather. Did they want to make us think Grandfather was involved? But if that's all they wanted, They could have just drawn any old scribble that looked like a magic circle. It wasn't like any of us amateurs would be able to tell the difference between genuine and fake. However, this magic circle was genuine, and furthermore, it had been it had even been written in Hebrew. Oh my. So this magic circle had a message that could only be understood by someone with knowledge of the occult. A message is a form of communication. By sending it, they were hoping for a reaction. A reaction? For some reason, we couldn't find Grandfather now. I don't know how Grandfather might have spotted the magic circle on the shutter, but did he choose to hide himself in reaction to that? No, was it a trap to make us suspect that Grandfather had participated? You could read it either way. Damn, that's annoying. What kind of reaction was the culprit hoping to get out of us by putting on this occult show? Somehow, that felt like the culprit's weak point. The letter from Beatrice that Maria had read aloud during last night's dinner sprang back into my mind. This was a freak who'd asked us to enjoy a battle of wits. Isn't that interesting? This is a battle of wits between us and the witch. Will we be sucked up by her occult game first? Or will we pull off her fake skin first? There's a whole day until the typhoon passes. Why not enjoy ourselves? Hmm. Well then, I think this is a good time to end it from here. But yeah, what happened was I was 43 minutes in during the recording, and then I got interrupted by someone, and then unpaused it, have to reread it again, you know. But because this is a good part to end it from there, we did got one good part, which is had it. It's funny. I think somewhere in the Umineko says it labeled as psychological horror or something, and I was like, well, there was a creepy face, and that's about it. So, and I was laughing, and it was kind of funny to look at it too. So, yeah, there's that. All right. Well, we'll end it off here for the next part. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, let's see what happens next. Have a good one.